Hey guys, Pat here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Well, as many of you know, if you're watching our channel, I picked up this Lincoln Ranger 9 welder generator, and the front cover plate was obviously loose, so I took all the switches off in the front. There's 3 switches in the front, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. I'm going to try using alcohol and clean this up, and I have a little contact cement that I'm going to use to try to re-adhere this faceplate back to the metal portion of the cover. So obviously it's been like this for a while. We have dust and dirt kind of accumulating off into the corner here, so I'm going to clean all this out. And I have a little small test area right here that I have a little bit of contact cement on to see if it doesn't melt this material. It's kind of a hard plastic. Some plastics and styrofoam and different things like that, it's not a good idea to put contact cement on that. So while that's being tested, I'm just going to go ahead and try to clean this up the best I can. I'm just going to use this cheap sash brush. It's a disposable brush that we can use to apply the adhesive. Try to get this as clean as possible so the adhesive can adhere to the plastic and not the dirt. When these come new, they actually have these little black tabs that go in here and hold this in place. They're not really glued or adhered onto this panel. Realistically, a guy should be just purchasing a new panel and just take these little tabs out, but these aren't cheap, so I'm going to go ahead and try just taking the contact cement and see if I can re-adhere it. If a guy ever has to get back in here to remove these fasteners, a guy's just going to have to punch a hole in here at each one of these locations. You can feel the divot right here. You can feel the divot wherever there's a low spot or wherever there's a fastener, and just disconnect it that way. I'm not too concerned about it. If in the event that I have to remove this panel for any reason, we can go ahead and do that. It's going to be kind of messy and a little cumbersome, but it won't be a big deal. It'll just take a long time to take that off of there and clean the old glue off and re-glue it, or get a new panel and stick back on here, because by that time I believe a guy's going to need a new panel anyway. Just got to be really careful you don't tear any more than what you have, what you got here. It looks like the contact cement is not going to have an adverse reaction to this plastic, so we'll go ahead and use it. This alcohol is working pretty good while I'm cleaning everything up. After I dirty this shop towel, I'll get a fresh towel and re-wipe everything down so there's no residue left over, no dirt. Now we'll just go back and dry off what we can. Paying particular attention to the edges, because that's where it's most likely to lift, is on the corners. So I want to make sure that the corners and everywhere there's a break like that, that it's nice and clean around those breaks or splits or tears or whatever you want to call them. With contact cement, you want to mix it really well. This, I had stirred it off camera pretty good, so I'll just go ahead and get it make a little more mixture on it. When you're using contact cement, you want to apply it to both surfaces. And I find out it makes less of a mess if you take this brush and stroke out towards the edge like that instead of brushing in, because then the glue will have a tendency to want to drip on the inside or on the outside of the panel that you're trying to adhere. Make a little bit of an arch like what you see here in order to make it a little stiffer so it's easier to apply the glue as well. Now you don't need much of this, just enough to coat it, because you'll be applying glue on both sides. And you want to go right up to the edge. Now this seems to be cracking the back side of this, so I don't know if it's going to work or not. But I'm kind of obligated now. We'll find out. The little test patch, it didn't have any adverse effect on it. Maybe it's because I put alcohol on it. I know some plastics and contact cement don't bode well with each other. Now you're supposed to let that dry to the point where it's tacky. You don't want it wet. You want it to where it acts like it wants to adhere. So with a high humidity around here and a cool day, it might take a little bit for that to cure, enough to where you can just adhere it back onto the metal plate here. So we'll come back after it's ready to go, and we'll show you how it looks. Okay, we're back. It's been a few minutes, less than 5 minutes I'm sure, and now this is, you can actually touch it and your finger won't actually pull off any glue. So that's kind of where you want to be with this contact cement. This here is should be set up just a little bit more. And if you'll notice, there's some cracking here on the back side, but not over here on this edge. So I'm not sure, maybe if the cleaning with the alcohol might have had an adverse effect on that, but maybe contact cement isn't the best thing to use for this. So where it's attached down on this corner down here, I'm just going to try to follow the panel all the way up so I don't get any pockets or don't get skewed one way or another. Because once you put this on here, once you make the adhesion or the contact with the two edges, then you're kind of obligated. Sometimes I use the back of my fingernail to press in different areas. Some of that you guys kind of snap into place where that little crack is. It was kind of overlapped just a tiny bit. And I start working up towards that corner. And just go over the whole thing. Make sure that every little spot that you can get is actually adhered and there's nothing protruding out. Up along the edge there, along the sides, around where the switches are going to be. Well, overall I don't think it turned out too bad. It's on there pretty good. I can see just a little bit where it's cracked. That cracking on the back side has kind of shown through on the back side of where this switch is going to go, but I don't see it anywhere else. It looks pretty doggone good. I'm contemplating cleaning this face up with the alcohol. That might not be a good idea, but I'm going to try a little corner of it. I think if I wipe it down and dry it really fast, that won't give the alcohol a chance to sit on there for long. Okay, I think that's good enough. I don't want to go overkill, and you know, if that alcohol indeed is having an adverse effect on that plastic, I don't want to keep rubbing on it and enhance that issue. So real quick wipe off of the front of this, and we'll call it good. At least I can read the dials now, the numbers now. Okay, that's as good as I'm going to do that. Now we'll just put the switches back in place. I think I had switches all the way to the left, so I knew which way to put them back on. Now with this contact cement, if you get a little bit on the top of your surface, You can just take your finger and rub that spot, and generally if it's fairly fresh, it'll just rub right off. That's just a little trick in case you get a little messy with it. Well, I'm pretty happy with that. That keeps me from having to buy one. Well guys, I hope this helps you. If you got something like this that's coming apart, you might be able to salvage it by using a little bit of contact cement. Just make sure you do a test spot when you're using something like that, contact cement or any type of adhesive. You just want to make sure that it's going to not have an adverse reaction on whatever that you're trying to adhere to. But I seem to have lucked out on this one. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. Take care and God bless.